Okay, 3.
Christy, we are going live in 3, 2, 1, live.
Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining. Today we have special guest Jeffrey Hazlett presenting the webinar Create.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
During today's webinar, you'll learn why social media matters to your bottom line. You'll also learn how to establish a strong foundation, create connections with users, build awareness, integrate social media with your business. A special thanks to our sponsors B2BDatapartners for making this possible today. B2Bdatapartners is a growth enablement partner for clients across 83 countries, helping extend reach to over 32 million top global executives across the world. B2Bdatapartners has transformed the way businesses work with cutting-edge data management technology, exhaustive data reach, and digital marketing solutions. And thank you to our presenter today, Jeffrey Hazlett. Jeffrey Hazlett has been called a lot of things, most of them good. From global business celebrity to maverick marketer, his bold, brash style makes a big first impression. He's a cowboy, literally. Jeffrey hails from South Dakota, and even far from his ranch, you'll still find him in his signature cowboy boots. Jeffrey is a business and marketing expert who saddles up to drive top companies on the path to change and growth. Jeffrey is a frequent television business commentator, telling it like it is on shows such as MSNBC's Your Business, Cavuto on Fox Business News, Bloomberg, and many others. Jeffrey authored the best-selling books The Mirror Test and Running the Gauntlet, and speaks to audiences like you every day. Jeffrey is a social marketing evangelist. He tweets regularly, and in fact, he's one of the top C-level Twitterers in the world. Thank you, Jeffrey. I'll pass it over to you.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Christy. As we pull the slides up, and we'll be able to make a presentation and be able to show that. Okay, I don't know that I can see all the slides showing at this point, so let me just double check here. We always love to do these things. I'm not seeing the slides up, so just double checking with everybody. 1 second here, you bear with me to make sure that we're seeing the slides. Okay. I want to make sure if you're not seeing the slides, I'd like the organizers to make sure that they let me know, because make sure that they're seeing them, because I'm not seeing them on my side. Okay, so it looks like you guys are seeing them. I'm not, so we're just going to go and move this off of my memory, which will be great. Fantastic. Thanks very much, and thanks everybody for joining me. I'm coming to you live from New York, but I know that we've got people from all over the world. I even saw some folks from India joining with us, and folks from California, folks from Canada, folks from even my home state of South Dakota, and we appreciate you being a part of it. I want to also thank B2B Data Partners for all they're doing to sponsor this webinar, and to talk a little bit about their services as we kind of go along, but these guys are great. And if you have questions as we go along, we've got some hashtags which I'll point out from time to time to let you know exactly what's cooking. But if you look on the very bottom of the slide, you'll see that hashtag, which is Social Sphere. Social Sphere, tag a question to me with that hashtag, and we'll be following it, and we'll be glad to answer your questions as we go. So let's talk about, first of all, what's social media. I mean, everybody's been talking about this, and it's, you know, it's become the buzzword for everyone in business today about what works and what doesn't work. You know, social media's been around for a long, long time. It's that interactive communication from people inside of communities. So it's a great way to be able to communicate to your communities, to share information, ideas, personal message, and other content, and especially videos. We'll talk a little bit about that in terms of the kinds of content that's really viewable and that people interact with. And I'll talk about even my own fan base, which ones they interact with the most as we go through. So changes are occurring in communication, and they've been doing it from the dawn of time. I mean, you can go all the way back to when the newspaper was first invented, radio, television. If you remember the CB radio craze, to tweeting, to what we're seeing in social media. And it's really changed the way in which we are delivering information, the way in which we do our advertising and sales, and certainly around the production and distribution of messages. And so today we're being inundated with messages. We've really got between us this whole select and delete kind of mentality going on. In fact, I tell my folks is you better make sure that it fits inside the window of an iPhone or a BlackBerry, because that's really the only thing I'm going to read, because we're moving at such a fast pace. So you have to make sure that the message are very relevant to your competition, or to your communities, in terms of beating back on your competition, because we're going to talk about how you use that every single day. I'm going to cover 4 basic elements of this, creating your social media footprint in the social sphere. I'm going to talk about establishing foundation, creating the connection. I'm going to talk about building awareness, and I'm going to talk about integrating your social media campaign. So let's go to the very first step of this thing. And by the way, this is all available in a white paper that we've created. And again, if you tag us in the hashtag, let us know. We'll make sure that you get that. That's from our partners at B2Bdatapartners. So let's first of all talk about establishing that connection in terms of the foundation that you have to have. And so I want to talk about is social media drives real great value. It's a platform for you to be able to amplify the message, to be able to go to where the customers are. In fact, remember the comedian Sam Kinison? A lot of us know he used to talk about people who were starving in the desert. He said, move out of the desert, go to where the food is. And so this is really good for businesses and organizations and people who are trying to make a connection out there. You want to go where the customers are. And they're out here in social media. They're interacting on Facebook. They're interacting on Twitter. They're interacting on Instagram. They're interacting on YouTube. And so that's where we want to go. It's an area that's rich in conversation. And that's a key word as we look at social media. You're engaging with people in conversations. You're not there to vomit up information or to take a megaphone and say, come see me, or come buy my product or this. What you want to do is engage and make it natural, just as though you were sitting in someone's porch or sitting in their car or sitting across the desk with them. That's what you want to be. Now, the cool thing about social media, there's a low barrier to cost and entry. And even the smallest players can look like the biggest brands in the world. And, of course, when we talk about social media, we're all talking about something that's very fast. It is very speedy at this point in terms of how we can interact, and it's getting faster and faster as we go. Now, as you make this footprint, you establish this foundation, you can also be seen as a leader in your industry. And there's a whole host of people that I can point to that I can use as examples of that, but it's a great way for you to be able to get super brand association and being connected with other brands and delivering that. And I'm going to talk about the value of a brand a little bit later on. The next thing that we want to do is talk about how it drives reach and bonds. That is to get the connections that you have to have and ways for us to view your company with different types of experience. So it extends and expands the brand and its positioning. And I'll talk more about that brand, but we'll use it from a perspective of just the name of your company and who you are. And we'll talk about what that brand really means. And it really helps us to repeat the things that we want and what we want to be able to get. So those messages I even use the term step and repeat, because what we do internally, just for Jeff Hazlett, when I talk to my fans, is we try to repeat the messages over and over. We have certain themes that we work on, whether it's for the day, like you might have seen the lead up to this webinar, about how we're going to help, promote this with our partners at B2Bdatapartners and how we're going to do the webinar. And so we repeated that throughout the day so that no matter when you would have tuned in, you would have maybe caught at least one of those messages. So it's a great thing to repeat, in terms of whether it might be a special for you or it might be an educational webinar or seminar or something you might do, or a sale that you might do, or a giveaway, or some content that you want to give. And it also explains the things that we don't. So because sometimes messages go out, press releases go out, they get misinterpreted. You blow an interview and you say something stupid. So this is a way for you to go back and explain what you really meant, what you hoped to say. And sometimes even people make those same mistakes on social media. We see a lot of celebrities, some of my friends who've made some stupid mistakes publicly, and they're able to hopefully go back and apologize or at least set their record straight. And certainly last, in terms of driving that reach and bonds, it helps us to engage with our communities. So a way in which we can engage with our fans and the people that mean the most to us in our relationships of our business and the way in which we drive ourselves. So the other thing that we're starting to see is that it's got new numbers, okay? Now, as a marketer, and I've run, marketing for a Fortune 100 company with, $17 billion budgets, and I've run companies in very small or small footprints or small companies in my own home state of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and some have made it good and some have made it bad. But what I find is when I was doing that marketing for some of those companies in the past, we really focused on the old model, which was eyeballs and ears. We cared more about the numbers. And I'm telling you, this is a game where you don't really pay attention to the numbers. Now, certainly you want fans, you want people to engage, you want those likes. We all look for that. How many do we got today? And we measure some of those aspects of our success based on those numbers. But really, this is a game about winning hearts and minds. And so even when I was running marketing for a Fortune 100 company, my team would say, well, let's go out and get 1 million or 2 million followers. And I said, whoa, stop. Guys, let's don't play that game. Because it's my belief is that as fast as they come to you is as fast as they will leave you. So really, again, you want to build up fans that truly have deep reach. Because if you're going to use partners, say like B2Bdatapartners, to go out and find other people and build those relationships, you want to keep those relationships, and I think that's pretty cool. And you want to look at, really in this case, quality versus quantity, and you want to look at content, the message, the essence of your brand, the brand promise of your brand, and rather than just looking at impressions, because you can get 1 or 2 really good customers, and that makes up for 1,000 really bad ones. And again, you saw in one of the points here, the third one down, I talk about the step and repeat process, about how we want to look forward at how we take something that's good news or a piece of information or a piece of content, and how do we step and repeat that, which again gives us our reverb that we talk about, which is the message and followers or friends, and their messages, or that message gets repeated to their followers and friends and BFFs and everybody else. Then we get that reverb, so it keeps going. It's interesting because I do a quote of the day every day at 7:50 in the morning. I send out a quote of the day, and I kind of queue those up. I'll give you a hint. I don't just do them every day. I look through and find an interesting bullet pull bunch, and then I save them up, and then I kind of program them into my Hootsuite. That's what I use to kind of program some of that stuff, and I send it out. And listen, and I see quotes that come back. Then I go like, when did I send that one out? And I go back and look, and it was 2, 3, 4 months ago. And someone's just now seeing that quote. Maybe they're just only check their Twitter every so often or Facebook every so often, but who cares? It resonates. Or someone passed it on to them, and I see them retweet it. So the reverb is there. So the continued, in terms of bounce around and carryover is good. And so, but with this reverb, you really get the scale. And I think that's pretty important when you think about talking about what you're trying to drive and how you're trying to drive it. So that reverb is good. So let's talk about one of the things that changes. And I put this slide especially for all of us to think, because I kind of get into the process. I'm an old printer by trade. And as a printer by trade, I like process. And I'm kind of lazy too. I mean, I work hard, but I like to do things only once and do it right. And so what we've learned is you got to look at the process. And so I sit back and take a look at the way in which innovation is driven. And a lot of people talk about in big companies how they got a department for innovation, which I think is kind of crazy. But needless to say, I think innovation is something that occurs. But yet, in the old side of the company, if you look at this chart, traditional, innovation was the source of inspiration came from executives. Now, really what you want to do is have a customer-driven innovation, and social media allows you to have this. This is where customers are saying, hey, I want to see this. And the key drivers before were existing assets and products and positioning, whereas a customer-driven innovation system looks for deep observation of customer needs. That is capturing customer behavior, because if you build it and hope they'll come, all you have is a baseball field in the middle of Iowa that no one will come see, or you can actually capture customer behavior. And before, it was a very structured kind of environment where this is our process and we'll have this planning meeting and this planning meeting, and you have a Windows open operation process where certain windows of time, that's when we put it, and we miss that window, you got to wait till next year. And now it's very much more spontaneous, okay? And where you had linear or structured processes, now you've got kind of controlled chaos. And where before you had the corporate posture of go out to the customer, now we invite the customer in and they tweet us suggestions, they give us insight, they're explicit, or they come across by just capturing them or watching. Maybe you've got a chief listening officer who's sitting and watching for these kinds of things, and I'll talk a little bit about my concept of chief listening officer a little bit later. And then you use tools like search and email and blogs and point of sales and intranets, and you start to gather this. But what my point is gets back to that earlier slide about how we've changed the way in which we seek information and how it's coming to us and the way in which we give it back up. Now, a lot of people say, well, this is the only way I do it. Well, great, that works for you, but for somebody else. I mean, I saw yesterday Facebook announce, that they're going to be able to actually have phone calls inside of Facebook. I mean, wow. So you talk about the way we're going to change the system. And some people will like that, some people won't. And you're just going to have to learn to accept it's not the way it used to be. This isn't your mother's or father's internet. And so now it's a great way to be able to look at it. So here's your new quest. Your new quest is the worst that anybody can say about you is nothing, okay? That's it. You want people to talk about you, and quite frankly, even if it's bad, trust me, hey, look, they call me this global business celebrity. I got people who love me. I also got people that hate me, but they're talking about me, and that's what you want to have people do about your product, because even the bad stuff gives you good stuff, although sometimes those are hurtful when people say, hey, you have a face for radio. Or they say, hey, my wife's a personal trainer, would you like her number? Now, those comments kind of hurt, okay? But I'm a big guy, I can take it. Now, what do you really need? You need a plan, and you need a good one. And so what I want you to do is this, like a lot of people like to think, well, this is all about, texting pictures of what I eat or doing this. No, there's people who are selling lots of products and lots of things on the internet. I can tell you of a campaign that I did back when I was, chief marketing officer for Kodak. I actually launched a product through Twitter, sold $400 million of this product only by doing Twitter, and never bought one ad. But you've got to have a great plan. You've got to think it through, and it's very structured. Now, with that plan, you're going to think success looks like the left-hand side of the chart, that this is what we're going to do. We're going to start from point A, we're going to go to point B. But I've always learned that it never looks like that, and it's never a straight line. It's a very squiggly line, and it's very messy. But that's the nature of social media, and that's the nature of most marketing and most plans, and quite frankly, of most business. So what I want you to do is think about a plan, and I call it the 4 E's of social media. And here's the first one. The first E is that you've got to engage. You've got to engage. So if even someone writes to you and says, some nasty, nasty things, I wish you'd go out of business, or something like that, and you want to engage with that person and get to them and talk to them and find out what it is. And I've had some people, literally, because when you're a public figure, you're a celebrity, people will actually come and say, and like I said before, some very mean things, or they'll criticize you openly, and that's just the nature of what happens online, or the digital nature of communications today. It's much more direct, and sometimes they don't mean to be mean, but they're just saying the way they say it, and they just spit it out. So, but I've always learned to, even the negative people, I engage with them, and by engaging, either positively or negatively, I learn, I educate. So they educate me, and I educate them. And through this education, what we do is we get excited. I get excited in my operation, and my folks get excited from all this engagement and this education that's going on, and we're sharing and learning, and they get excited. The people, my customers, and my future customers get excited. And what they start to do is leads to the 4th E, which is around evangelization, or evangelize. They become brand ambassadors. And again, I'm using myself as an example because that's what I got. So, that's all I got, at this point. So I could, or you can think about Apple, you can think about anybody's company. when you build brand ambassadors, they tell people, you should buy this book, you should buy this phone, you should do this, you should do that. And that's really what you want to start to have, and have people really active. Now let's talk about step 2, the second piece of the foundation. Again, this is in my white paper, which is called Create Your Social Media Footprint in the Social Sphere, which is sponsored by our partners here, B2Bdatapartners. You can email them, you can tweet them, you can tweet me, you can email me, you can go to my Facebook page. There's my Twitter right there in the bottom of the slide, and we'll get you this white paper because we want you to have it. And I'll get you the slides, and I'll give you everything. Except for my horses or my truck. Now, let's talk about creating the connection. And so there's some rules for social. And you have to learn, everybody thinks this is open chaos, but there really are some rules. You know, you have to be real. You have to be transparent. And you really should be human, because that's what it's about. It's called social media, not electronic media. It's called social media. So you should be human and real and understand some certain etiquette that's out there. Like for Twitter, you should follow back and thank people. In LinkedIn, don't connect with people you don't know. Ask their permission to join them. And I've got, you know, I don't know, a couple 100,000 followers, and I always make sure that I ask permission, because I'm just honored to have people follow me. By the way, please, if you're one of the hundreds that's on here today, you know, jump in here, follow me on Twitter, or link in with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to have you, or come be a fan of ours and like us on our Facebook page. So you got to be more than just a name, more than just a global business celebrity. So what's the channel overview? Let's think about this. Now, my daughter actually gave me the kind of the outline of this, which I want to talk about, and I want you to think about how would I describe LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and I could describe more, but let's just take those 4 fundamental ones, because those are the main ones. Now, some people say, well, Jeff, where's Google+? I mean, there's a lot of people on it. I just see a lot of people using it, and for right now, let's just take these 4. So let's take the first one, and I'll even show you my LinkedIn profile. You want to look at LinkedIn as kind of like your sign on Main Street. This is like your business card on Main Street. And it's surprising how many business people and owners that I find that aren't on LinkedIn. Are you crazy? You got to get on LinkedIn. So that's your business card, your sign on Main Street. Then there's Twitter, and Twitter is kind of like, oh, it's like you're sitting on your front porch and you got a megaphone, or people drive by or they walk by on the sidewalk and you kind of shout at them like, hey, how you doing? Stop by for a second. You get a quick view. Only 140 characters worth, but it's a quick snapshot, and then they drive on. You don't stop, keep moving, and then you go to the next topic or the next item. And then you go and look at like Facebook. And Facebook, you know, to me, that I describe Facebook as kind of like the people you invite into your living room. It's much more social, much more intimate, and so you want to take on the, you know, even though I might have 25,000 fans or likes or friends, as they say, it's really about that intimate conversation. And then you've got YouTube, which is really your personal on-demand television station. So this is where you can post things in your brand, about your brand, or action, and you comment and have some fun and do some different things. So those are the way I would describe the channels. Now, let's talk about step 3, which is building awareness. And I've got a chart in this next slide, which I think is just awesome, because this chart really shows how you can influence your customers and increase brand awareness through social media. It shows how a customer gets brand information from the social networking sites and make, in this case, her desired product purchases. And it also shows how brand awareness can be created through active social media marketing strategies. So you get these slides, and it's in, actually this is in the white paper. So with the time that we've got, I want you to spend a little bit more time reading the white paper and finding out how you can do this, but you can show how one action of how someone is looking to buy a dishwasher, and then all the interaction that can occur between the brand, the customer, consumer, and the social network, and how others like friends influence that purchase. So I want you to think about why you're in this game. You know, what is it you're doing, the things you're doing, and how you're doing it, and the way in which you're starting to do it. And you can't do this overnight. You have to have substance. You have to have conditions of satisfaction. And so I want you to think about your brand, because let me tell you, folks, if you suck offline, you're going to suck online, okay? So you can write that down. That's a tweetable quote from Jeffrey Hazlett. If you suck offline, you will suck online. So I want you to think about what is a brand. Now, brand is two things. First of all, it's something that we always put on a cow and occasionally a horse. It's what us cowboys have used for years to identify our property, to show what we own out in the pastures when we turn our cows loose and we bring them back so we can identify them. So it's the iconic representation of ownership on the side of a bovine. Okay? So that's really where the word brand came from that cowboy lore and cowboy terminology that we use, which I think is always smart, you know, but then I'm a cowboy. Now, but it's really about promises delivered. And it's about what is the promise that you're trying to deliver to your customer. So when you see the things you see from Jeffrey Hazlett, I try to weave those brand images and brand promises throughout about being irreverent, about being honest and open, radically transparent, about, you know, telling it like it is and delivering and being cutting edge and being a cowboy, right? Because that's what I want to do. So you really have to know the elements of your brand. What's the essence of who you are, what the essence of your brand is, what does your brand look like, who's your audience, where are they, how can they find you, and you've got to be able to have that down so that you can take that through and be real, because I said being real is one of the foundations that you have to have in driving social media. So your challenge is to get that very succinct. Now I call that the 118, your elevator pitch, okay? Now your elevator pitch is something you're supposed to be able to tell people about you in a short amount of time. In this case, as much as, you know, as few as 140 characters or less, or what I call 118 seconds. Now think about this, folks. 118 seconds is what you've got to do to tell your story, and that's all you've got. That's all the time that you have. See, 8 seconds is the average attention span of adult. I know that to be true. I looked it up on the internet. That's true. It's a fact. All right, now, in 110 seconds is the average elevator ride in New York City. From the time you press the button, wait for the doors to open, step on, ride up or ride down, and get off. That's it. See, you have 8 seconds for what I call the hook. That ability to say something that's so provocative that people want to lean in and hear the rest of the message. That's that 8 seconds, that hook. That's that, you know, that's that short attention span. And you've heard it before. You've said something that you've said to somebody before that they liked, and they actually lean into the conversation. They want to hear the rest. And that's where the 110 seconds comes. That's the close. See, that's the value statement. So what's your value? So, and don't say, oh, I work with this company, this company, this company, because the person really doesn't care. Now, they might pretend like they care because they're being nice to you, but they really don't care. What's the value that you can give to that customer? That's your real challenge. So as you think about how you become and you set up your footprint in the social sphere and how you create this social media opportunity for selling and promoting your company or you or your brand, think about the essence of who you are. You've got to have that at the forefront and be true to that message and be honest and real and transparent. Now, let's go to the fourth piece, and we're coming to the big close here in our last 15 minutes that we're going to be here together. I want to talk about integrating social media. Now, look at the slide right there. There's an example of integrating my social media because, look, I've got a hashtag there. I've been telling you about my Twitter handle. There it is, @JeffreyHazlett. I've even pointed out, you know, in a nice way, here's our sponsors, B2Bdatapartners. So there's lots of ways that you can integrate your social media. But before you do that, you've really got to monitor, deploy, and act. Now, I'm actually showing you a real live page of our page. I can't believe my team put this slide in here. We're showing you all the secrets. We're showing you the scheduled tweets of what we're going to do over the next, oh my gosh, this is back in July, but how we scheduled the certain tweets out about us landing in Indianapolis, and we get excited about doing a presentation, and the sent tweets of what we said, and there's the mentions. And so we're monitoring what's going on. We react to it. We then reschedule tweets or retweet and do that, and at the same time we're monitoring other words and other things. And you can even look across the top, you know, there's other ones for other accounts that we're monitoring. Sometimes, I even monitor my competition, and so I even take a look at what they're doing, what they're saying, how they're saying it. Do I want to jump in? So what tool? This is a free tool. Hootsuite. I'm using Hootsuite, but you can use TweetDeck. You can use, there's some paid tools too, like Radiant 6 and many others that you can use, but you got to start. you got to do something. So go get something like this and be able to, start your footprint in the social sphere. Now, let's talk a little bit about when to activate. Now, there's lots of ways that you can look at this, but you want to track your insights. You want to be able to look at things that occur. We know that photographs work really well. People love to see photographs of me when I'm on, like the other night, I was on Bloomberg television talking about the privatization or possible private buyout of Dell computers and what Michael Dell was thinking and so forth and so on. Well, so we like to, send out pictures of that because people like to see me backstage. They like to know what's it like backstage, what do they serve in the green room, things like that. So we know that photos attract more comments and likes from 3 p.m. on. Maybe people are just waking up, I don't know. But retweets are more frequent before noon, Monday through Friday. So because people are checking in, they're seeing what smart things you're saying. So those, when you want to put those kinds of things in there a little bit earlier. And then highest engagement comes from using hashtags. Now that's on Twitter, so that people can kind of follow along. In fact, you can even look at what the trending items are and sometimes jump in the conversation. I mean, it was fun one night when I was at the Academy Awards, and I was part of the hashtag that was going on, and then I had, literally hundreds of thousands of people retweeting the things I was saying because I was in this, in the Kodak Theater watching what was going on, and my favorite retweet was from Rowan Atkinson, who's Mr. Bean. That was cool. I was pretty excited. I almost jumped up out of the chair, and security almost took me out because Mr. Bean was following me. So you want to be able to take a look at that, and so you want to look at also, if you want to have really good stuff on YouTube, do something that's funny. So the other thing is you want to look at some social advertising. We use advertising on Facebook. We found it to be very, very effective for us, and we do some on LinkedIn, and we do some things in some other platforms, but we have found Facebook advertising to probably be one of the better things, especially we're a small business, for small business, so you might want to take a look at that. And using color, you need to have a real strong call to action, clear brand positioning. You see how we use the photographs and very stark action-oriented kinds of images. And we try to give something back where we have people where you can sign up for something or take action, because you want to try to hook them into your community to get followers and friends. And so we find out that the ROI is really around the brand awareness, the community engagement, and building your network. In fact, some people say, well, what's your ROI? So, well, in terms of your return on investment. And I always tell people, say, well, I don't know, what's your return on ignoring? This is about engaged. What you can do is start to measure some of that. So what's your outreach? So what's your cred score? What is your clout score? And so, like, there's mine, and that's actually one of the highest in social media. It's 859 in terms of influence, which means I have a deep community that really, listens to what I say, and we're very interactive with one another. And you can see out of a scale of 12, I'm high on the outreach, which means I really like to retweet to other people, talk to other people, and share information. So, we're very proud of those things. And even my clout score is, I think, 76, which is a very, very high on a clout score. So, again, think about what your influence and outreach, and think about what you want to measure. And I think that's important. We measure our growth in terms of the number of Twitter followers, the number of people who watch our videos on YouTube, and the length and so forth. And we also measure our credibility or clout. So now the other thing is we start to wind down on this very special webinar that's been hosted by our partners, B2Bdatapartners, is to think about opportunities and challenges, because not everyone is cut out for this, and I think that's an important thing for us to think about. Not everyone should be doing this. Now, and I'm talking about people, not business. I think every business should be doing it. You got customers, you got friends, you got people that like you, so you want to make sure that you are doing it. But when I'm talking about who should be doing it, you probably don't want the crankiest guy in the operation being the person. You want somebody that's more social. You want somebody that feels as though they can engage with you. Because, again, remember what the brand is. It's a living, breathing organization. And at the same time, some people say, well, I want to control what it is about my brand. Well, you can't control it. You've never had control of the brand. your customers have control of your brand. And so what you want to do is, again, what's the worst thing anyone could say about you? That's right, nothing. You want people talking about you continually. And so you want them engaged and asking you questions. You want to be seen as a resource, and you want to be seen as genuine. So the other thing is you're going to have to think about your speed in this thing, because speed's your friend and time's your enemy. Meaning, let's imagine you're United Airlines and someone complains and it takes you 48 hours for you to respond to a complaint about a plane that they're waiting to catch. Well, then and then you've let them down twice, right? So United and other companies do a really great job of monitoring what's going on there. In fact, that's a term, a number of years ago I started and I named the very first chief blogger in an organization in the company. There's bloggers, but I said, look, we've got lots of bloggers at this company, so I need a chief blogger, someone like an editor, not to watch what they're saying, but to coordinate the activity. So I got to thinking, in social media, someone needs to be a listener, but you need a chief listener. And that's someone to watch and listen to every single tweet. Now, the company, like, say, for instance, Kodak, where I did this a number of years ago, I can't have somebody watch every tweet, every comment on a blog, every chat room forum, because it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And, you got 18 different Facebook pages and, in 40 different languages, and there's just no way one person could do that. But so I needed someone to coordinate so that we could listen to the conversation and act with great speed as it was happening in real time by real people. And so I said someone needs to be the chief listener, so we can take comments that we hear or see, and these comments go into the sales category, and someone from sales responds, and then these go into customer service because they're complaints or bitches or moans or whatever, or real true things that we got to get fixed. And then these kinds of things, somebody have a product idea, you get great suggestions on what you should do, how you should change it. So taking that spontaneous chaotic suggestions and put them into your innovation in terms of changing your product around. So, so I ask you, who's your chief listening officer? Now, for hopefully the business, it's the owner. I think I'm the chief listening officer for our company because I'm constantly watching and so forth. But I do have people because, as an author, speaker, I'm traveling all the time, and I do have some help from my team, and I pick those team members very, very carefully because again, representation of our brand, and they speak with my voice. Now, I'm doing all my own tweets and so forth, but I want to make sure that we're protecting that brand and protecting the things like intellectual property and copyright. So we're watching for that, where someone might use our material or something. So you want to go after people who are going to do that. Now, the other thing you want to think about, as you got a hint of, as I was just talking about it, is what's the voice? What's your voice of the company? How are you speaking that, representing it? And do you have policies in place? Because there are things that are going to pop up that you might not be ready or available. Can someone respond for you, and how would they respond? So think through how you will handle that as you move into creating your own footprint in the social sphere. And so you're going to have to anticipate things you don't. And you've got a partner. You need to think about what happens if one of you passes, or dies. You want to think about who's going to inherit, and do you want the spouse involved in the business, or do you buy them out and get them out of the way, and do you carry insurance that would cover that, so that would take care of it? But you need to talk about those things, and in this case you need to talk about, and I talk about in a few minutes, the ugly stuff as well, because there is some ugly stuff that comes with this. So the other thing is that especially for big companies, is to think about the culture shift, to grow some thick skin, because you're going to hear some things and see some things that you're not going to like. That's the nature of it, okay? That's what you will see, because people will be very transparent and very, as I said, very direct. So you're going to have to grow some thick skin about that activity, because you have an opinion about who you are and what you are, or what your company is, but other people see it through different eyes, and so you're going to learn that it's not the same as what you see. So, go into it with a thought process of, I don't know what I don't know. And then, I mentioned the ROI quest a little bit earlier. don't get so bogged down in this. Yeah, it's important to measure. It's important to know. But, I mean, come on. Think about it. What's the value of this? Are you kidding me? Let's see, I'm in constant contact with a group of customers who want to evangelize and are excited about our process. They're becoming brand ambassadors. They're giving me information. They're giving me feedback. They're telling me how I can improve. They actually care about my business and about me and about what we're doing and where we're going. Are you kidding me? I need to measure all that? Well, I need to know that it's working and that I'm doing it, but don't put all your money into this. First of all, I don't know how you could, but don't put all of your eggs into this basket. It's an important one, but there's lots of other things that you're going to need to do in marketing. There's lots of other things you're going to need to do to promote your business. And so think blended kinds of campaigns, blended activity, and moderation, okay? And then scale social is, as you become more and more social, more people will join you. Over time, they will join you, and that's just the nature of what it is. Now, the other piece is the ugly stuff. You got to be careful. You just have to be careful. Think about the pictures you choose to put up there. They're going to have a life of their own. So how you portray your company, don't be cute. Be careful about the personal information that you might share. There are some bad people out there. I mentioned this when I was at my former company. We had a woman by the name of Tina who was doing this for us, one of the key people on our social media. And she had like 50 men who were following her who only followed women named Tina. And I don't care who you are. That's just weird, right? So don't tweet that you're in a hotel alone, at such and such hotel, or you're at home alone. I mean, don't do those things. I'm telling you, people will find you. They will stalk you. They will track you down. I've had it numerous times in airports and hotels and so forth. So what I want you to do is be smart, okay, which is one of the things I think we want to talk about. Now, the last but not least, I want to tell you, hey, notice the competition. You remember Snow White? One of the greatest classic children's stories of all times. Snow White said it best, mirror, mirror, who on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Well, it's you, but I also want to know who is my competitor. So you're only as strong as your best competitor. So go look at your competitors. What are they doing? How are they doing it? How do you compare? What are the things that they do really good? What do they do really bad? What are your strengths and weaknesses, and how can you capitalize on that? I don't want you to spend too much time on this, but I do want to follow it. I follow my competition. Certainly when I was fighting Big Inc. a number of years ago, and I would track what they were saying and what they were doing and know those kinds of things. I think that's real important for us to be able to do. So the next slide that I want to show you is how do you get this white paper, okay? And there's the address right there, but you can also make sure that you can reach me out on this on the hashtag SocialSphere. You can send me a direct tweet at Jeffrey Hazlett, or come see me on my Facebook page. I'm going to be going, I post stuff up there all the time, and it's a great way for us to communicate and have conversations. And then, hey, if you're ever in New York or in San Francisco or LA or Sioux Falls, South Dakota, because we have offices in those places, I hope you look me up. And don't forget our good friends at B2Bdatapartners for sponsoring this, doing this. We use them. They help me find lists of customers. They help me get into direct contacts with more fans. They help me to pull together a lot more things that I can use in my social media. That's much more to go to their site. I've been working with them for this last year, and I really am excited about what they do and how they do things. And we're glad that they're a sponsor with us. And more importantly, as you see their name, they're our data partner, and we love them, and they help us in our B2B work. So they can help you. And so that's it. That's all we got for today. I want to thank everybody for being a part of this. I noticed that we had everybody stick with us. No one left. The numbers are still good, and so I'm excited by that, and I hope you got a lot out of it. If you need anything, hey, tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll do our best to even make it even more fun next time. But we want to thank you, and thanks again to our folks at B2B Data Partners. And don't forget to download the white paper. Don't forget to reach out to us. Okay, they're telling me I got to go. Thanks so much, everybody. See you later.